you can work for hours on your techniques, on your pronunciation, on your breathing, but there is such a huge mental health, mental well-being part of stuttering that I'm still thinking over too.
Well, welcome to Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland Labrador's first podcast about stuttering. My name is Greg O'Grady, and I am the chair of the Newfoundland Labrador Stuttering Association and a co-host of Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland Labrador's first podcast about stuttering, along with my co-hosts.
And I'm Katelyn Mayo. I'm a student and an aspiring speech-language pathologist, and I'm Greg's co-host on Some Stutter Law podcast.
Some Stutter Law mission is dismantling and rebuilding stuttering. Let's start listening. Some Stutter Law mandate is, in the spirit of Newfoundland and Labrador humor, robust and frank interactive discussions. Some Stutter Law podcast aims to rebuild confidence and hope for today's and tomorrow's persons who happen to stutter by dismantling stuttering myths, stigma, stereotypes, and barriers.
The objectives of Some Stutter Law podcast are supporting, raising awareness, and increasing understanding and acceptance of stuttering, providing people who stutter, their families, professionals, students, and the general public with current information, research, and resources about stuttering, and promoting the NLSA mission of advocacy and support for people who stutter.
We are pleased to welcome Brent Foote today on Some Stutter Law podcast. Brent, as a person who stutters, please share a little about yourself to our Some Stutter Law listeners audience.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Katelyn. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Brent Foote. I'm from Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, and I am a person who stutters. This is my first ever podcast, so thing that I've been on. So thank you so much for the chance to come on and speak. I grew up here in Mount Pearl. I went to school here. I played modern hockey, baseball. It's my home. When I was in grade school, I got, diagnosed with what's called a severe fluency problem. So I was in speech therapy for probably about 4 to 5 years, from grade 1 to grade 6. So one of the things that I found that kind of dominated my childhood was trying to speak and just not having the words come out, or just speaking and running out of breath, pronunciation, some of those things. I was in therapy at school, and my parents had someone come at home too. So I kind of had a double duty of therapy at home, therapy at school, on top of my regular homework and all the things that that kind of come with being a kid. But one of the things that I'm really happy about is that I feel like I've come a long way in the last number of years. One of the things that I find that really helps me out is playing sports, being active. I feel like that kind of helps me with my confidence, and just helps to calm the nerves a bit, that kind of thing. So I'm really pumped to probably to help out people that stutter too.
Great, Brent. Brent, I'm wondering now, as a person who stutters, how do you approach speaking situations? Are there any challenging situations that you find hard? For example, speaking, meeting new people, telephones, and if so, how do you handle this?
So I figured out pretty early on that speaking on the phone was going to be a challenge. I guess um, some of that anxiety that came with that, is calling someone new that I've never met before, or um, um, trying to get my words out over the phone, and the person on the other end that wasn't hearing me or understanding me. I think one of the main um, fears that I have even now is just like not being understood. And people that stutter and people that have speaking challenges, like they just want to be understood, and that's something that you know that I think can be a challenge sometimes for both parties, whether whether it's me or someone on the other end. Talking on the phone certainly is one that still isn't completely great, but it's something that I've gotten better at. Meeting new people, sometimes it can be difficult, and sometimes times not. The fun thing for my stutter is that it doesn't have a schedule. One day it can be absolutely fine, talking to the two of you, and right now, knock on wood, it's pretty fine. But I could go out to the grocery store tonight to pick up snacks, and I can't get a word out to the cashier. And there's no there's no magic kind of answer as to why that is. Sometimes it's just dependent on the day. And I think I've just learned to take life and life with my stutter, just kind of day by day.
Brent, I'm wondering now, like, as a person who stutters as well, sometimes, much like you, stuttering is very fluid, and it really sort of it all depends how we feel, whether we're tired, anxious, depending on the type of situation. When when you have a train wreck speaking experience, how do you cope with it afterwards? What things do you do to make you feel better emotionally?
Well, one thing that I think you just hit the nail on the head there is the train wreck train wreck experience. I can think of a couple of different times in my life, whether it's on the phone, either at school or at work, and my speaking is just not agreeing with me. It's just not working for me that day or that time. It like it can be stressful. You know, I think one method that's pretty basic, and I um, think that many people can kind of practice it too, is just kind of breathing. Afterwards, trying to just calm yourself, that kind of thing. That part. Um, I don't think that I've 100% figured out how to perfectly cope with it, but it's something that I'm always trying to work on. I'm definitely my own biggest critic. So if I'm up giving a work presentation, or if I'm doing something for school, or if I'm just out generally with friends or family, and there's some fluency stuff that comes up, I'm I'm very critical on what I could have done better. I think that um, me and other people that stutter, we got to give credit where credit is due, because a lot of the time we're going out of our comfort zone. We're going out into this world where it's not as welcoming as we would like it to be, and I think it's good to celebrate some of the small steps. Like, I'm going through my phone contact list, and I need to make a call for an doctor's appointment, and I stuttered maybe 1 or 2 times or 3 times, whereas maybe before, when I called someone else, I stuttered I can't know how many times, because it like that day was challenging. So I think people, and I should take my own advice, is to breathe. Don't be so hard on who you are, and celebrate some of the small stuff too.
Katelyn, do you have any questions so far?
Yeah, for sure. So based on what you just said, you stated how, the world is sometimes not as welcoming as you'd like it to be, which I totally understand. And so looking as someone from the outside, what would you give as advice to people, to a conversation partner, to people in the public? What could they do to make you feel more comfortable and more welcomed?
Well, that's a great question, Katelyn. I think one of the things that I just like to start off that with is that for persons that stutter, it can be a big ask of the general public to just understand, and it can be a big ask of the general public to just understand. Not everyone has that capability. Like, when I'm out, I went to the drive-through the other day, and I tried to order something, and my stutter acted up, kind of badly. Not like too bad, but not great either. And the other person on the other end of the drive-through was like super patient. So I think it can be challenging for everyone, because I think as people that don't stutter, maybe they're kind of wondering how to help. And what I think I would encourage people on the outside to do is to just listen, to just ask questions if they think that the person is open to it. Just kind of not nonverbal, like kind of what you're just doing now. You're nodding as I'm speaking. So I think that's like, I think that nonverbal help kind of is really good too, and that's an underrated part of communication too. Another thing maybe is just making space for people in conversation. If you're in a group setting and you notice that someone is being particularly quiet, or just just look and see if they might want to have something to say. If they don't, that's okay. Maybe they're just too shy, or maybe they don't want to. All those are fine. The biggest thing that I can probably just ask people from the outside is just to be patient, and to if you want to help, I think that's the very first step.
Brent, from a scale from 1 to 10, 10 is is accepting accepting your stuttering, where would you classify yourself from 1 to 10 in terms of the level of acceptance of your stuttering at this point in your life?
Um, Today, probably a 9. Tomorrow, it might depend. I could be at, a 3 or 4. So, I think that there's that balance. I certainly think, Greg, that in the last year since I first learned about the Newfoundland Stutter group, that I've done so much more learning about other people that stutter and kind of hearing some of their stories, some of their background. So for me, like that's been really helpful, and that's kind of helped frame my own thinking too, and a way that I kind of look at myself and how I've thought about my stutter, how I live with it, and how I I like I live with my stutter in my own mind, but I also have to live it out loud too. And I don't know if there's an exact number that I can put on it, but I can say that I have tried to be open about it for a long time, and I think it's just trying to find the avenues and the space to do it. And right now it's a 9, and maybe tomorrow I might get frustrated with it, and it might be lower. But I think it's good just to try and keep that that positive outlook to it, with the understanding that some days are going to be tougher than others, and other days are going to be great.
Do you spend much time on a daily basis thinking about your stuttering, Brent? Like, is it a primary focus or?
It can be. I will say that it can be, and sometimes it's just dependent on the situation. If I'm at work and if I've got a number of phone calls to do, or or if I know that I'm going to be seeing a lot of people today, then one of the things that I might do is try and plan out some of what I might say. I think one of the things that got mentioned maybe in a past conversation is that writing things writing things down as a guide. So that's something that I definitely use now, and I think that there's that trick of trying to practice what you're going to say, but you also want it to be natural too. So some of that is I definitely try and mix and match a bit, depending on the on the on the day and kind of what I might be doing. But yeah, I mean, it would be something that is on my mind every day, but not necessarily in a negative way.
I remember, Brent, when I was working, I'm retired now, but I was very happy when the voicemail came in because I'm not a morning person and I lived a lot of my life as a covert stutterer. And I used to dread the phone to ring in the morning. And luckily, we had call display. And depending how I feel emotionally and psychologically, I used to let the voice go to my voicemail. So at least I can listen to the message and prepare myself to make the phone call. It was a trick on my part, and also the stress I inflicted on myself to be a covert stutterer. Yeah. In terms of yourself, would you classify yourself as an overt stutterer, covert, or?
Greg, I think I might need you to define the two of them for me, because I have heard them before, but I'm not sure what one I might fit in.
Sure. Well, and overt stutterer, person who stutters, Brent, is somebody that stutters that doesn't try to hide their stuttering, whereas a covert stutterer tries to hide it constantly, tries to use tricks, avoid situations, have family friends make appointments. So that's a real covert. So you hide versus someone who's open about their stuttering, that doesn't try to hide.
Okay. I would say that I'm a bit of both, really. I mean, there's like I think right now, talking to the two of you, I'm more overt because I'm a little more open to it. Or no, wait, overt is more so kind of hiding away, right?
No, the overt's being open.
Oh,
You don't try to hide.
oh, okay. Well, um, now I know what I have to do for homework. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I would say that I'm probably a bit of both. Right now, I am over because I am talking about it, and it's a safe space to do that. And there are other times when I'm not afraid to say that, I kind of hide it, or I try to. I don't know if that's the best thing to do, but it is something that does happen for me a couple of times. You know, it's such a balance of trying to, figure out where your comfort zone is and just trying to push yourself out of it. um, I think when it comes to the covert side, I probably use word substitution a bit. um, One thing that I've learned in the past year, even just sitting on some Zoom calls and stuff, and hearing about some of the strategies and um, uh, terminology from folks, is that word substitution. So I'll be, say, speaking to uh, my brother, or my parents, or whoever, friends or whatever, and I'll be halfway through a sentence and then realize that for some reason I can't get a word out, or a certain phrase, or a certain way, and I'll like quickly like substitute, um, you know a second word, or something different, phrase, to try and keep it smooth. Uh, Sometimes I find that works. That's a bit hit and miss. There's times in which there's times in which it works fine, and then there's times in which it absolutely, and there's other times in which um, it downright fails, and don't work. So I would say that I'm probably a bit of a mix of both, but that's something that I'll definitely have to learn more about.
Do you feel, Brent, that that your stuttering at this point in your life is affecting your quality of life? Is it holding you back professionally, personally?
Um, they're really good thought questions. Thank you for that. I would say yes and no, and I realize that in some of my answers that I'm kind of flopping back and forth, or I'm not picking a certain lane to stay in. I do find that it's like for my stutter in my own life, I feel like it has held me back in terms of being shy when I was younger, probably. But with the help of speech therapy in school, I felt like I got a lot more confident in speaking. And then as I got older and moved into post-secondary, that just got better too. And then once I kind of transitioned from post-secondary to working life, like that's been good too. So I really like I really look at living with my stutter in terms of stages and growth. Has it held me back from going after certain things, whether it's work or just life? Yeah, sure. But I also feel in a funny and um, weird and great way, I've actually been able to really connect with people um, that are really cognizant of others, and that's not just people speaking with a that's not just people speaking with a stutter. That's just overall. I feel like it's really led me to work and volunteering and family and friends that that are very kind and very um, you know very encouraging. I had mentioned in my previous answer a few minutes ago that playing sports and kind of being outside active, that really helped. That really helped me out. That feeling is actually something that I've gone after in my post-secondary studies and in my work life too. So I work in sport and uh, recreation. Unfortunately, right now this field is kind of impacted by COVID-19, but some of the lockdown stuff. But I've gotten to meet so many people through that, through work, through volunteering, and I've gotten to learn from some amazing people that are not just good at their jobs, but they're also just really good people too, and that has helped me both personally and as I go after work uh, work opportunities too.
Now, like, just thinking now, Brent, about the larger picture for supports for people who stutter in Newfoundland Labrador. What do you feel is lacking for supports throughout the province for people who stutter and our families?
Yeah, well, I was really lucky to grow up in an urban setting in an urban part of the province. So I was fortunate to have speech therapy available to me, both at school and both at home. Um, so I don't know if the balance right now between persons that stutter in the school system uh, and the amount of SLPs that are there to help them. So one thing that I think I would be really passionate about um, helping is the school system, because students have to go to school for X number of years in secondary. They need that really strong, they really need that strong, strong foundation to be, comfortable to learn, to grow. When it comes to outside of school, one thing that I would like to kind of see, and maybe this is something that that takes me on my stutter journey through the years, is workplace training, workplace um, workplace awareness, and trying to help persons that stutter feel confident going into the workplace, or they're going on a work term for school, and perhaps just educating people on some of the challenges that people who stutter have. I think that the school and the community at a large, those are probably the two that come to mind, and something that I can hopefully support as the years, you know, as time goes on.
Do you feel, Brent, that that understanding of the emotional component of stuttering is not addressed as it should be, not as understood as it should be?
Absolutely.
The emotional
And
component.
yeah, and I think this is I think that's echoed by many more people in the I think that's something that is echoed in the group too, is that it's not, you can work for hours on your techniques, on your pronunciation, on your breathing, but there is such a huge mental health and mental well-being part of stuttering that I'm still thinking over too. I um, you know I think that society in general has moved probably in a more positive direction when it comes to mental well-being, um, for a variety of reasons, and there's a lot of great people out there and working and causes. But I think that with stuttering, like there's a unique part of mental health for people that stutter. It's one thing to get up and speak in front of a crowd and just be nervous, and that's okay. But to add a speech impediment or a fluency problem on top of that, that can be frightening. That can really hamper someone's confidence. It can really cause anxiety. So I probably would add stuttering and mental well-being practice to my last answer too.
One more question. I have lots of questions for you, Brent.
Absolutely.
Brent,
Ask away.
I'm wondering now, given you mentioned that given COVID, we're really still doing a lot of social media, Zooming, Skyping, Facebook, things like that. Do you feel that, how do you feel that people who stutter is handling this? How do you handle it? Is it positive, negative?
Over Zoom?
No, I mean, just in social media, looking at people's faces, communicating on Zoom as a person who stutters.
So right now it's great because there's Greg and Katelyn here. So, so that's okay for me. When, it's different if I'm, on Zoom or Google Meet or Skype with buddies, or, people that I know. You know, if my stutter comes up, it's probably not that big a deal. I don't, sweat it too much. I might get a bit frustrated here and there, but all you can do. When it comes to virtual work, I really feel like people that stutter are at a disadvantage because we rely quite a bit on nonverbal help sometimes, or I do at least. So, and I think that virtual work, especially in COVID, has been great. I think it's been flexible for the most part, but for me, um, it doesn't replace the feeling of being in a workstation with your coworkers who that they have your back and you got theirs, and you're all working together on projects, but you're fine working on your own things too. So I'm looking forward to um, getting back into the office type setting or just kind of out in the community, because that I think is where persons who stutter can have the most impact uh, in terms of what they can bring to the table, because it's kind of missed over Zoom, or it's not as um, apparent as as in person too. And just I think, to be fair, folks, is that I think that in the last year, people have had to make huge um, changes in their work life. From working from a home, sending kids to school, and back again. I think that we've all just had to really uh, uh, think that we've all had to adapt with the times, and I think that we're all working really hard at that.
Right now, I'm wondering now, with regards to the Zoom, I mean, the whole COVID, the people who stutter, some people who stutter have trouble reaching out to people anyhow, even outside of COVID, for example, on a daily experience. Some people start have trouble speaking up, making friends, talking, but let alone now having to go on Zoom. Do you think there's a sense of isolation?
I do. Um, you know, um, it's funny that last year for my birthday in April, I couldn't get together in person with any of my friends, other than some close family members and stuff. So we did a virtual birthday party over Zoom with trivia, and I'm crossing my fingers, not so secretly hoping that that doesn't happen again next month, because I certainly feel that isolation part of it. Zoom is great, Google Meet is great. I think that virtual work and virtual connection is amazing. I love the fact that I can pick up the phone and FaceTime someone that's far away from me. I like the fact that like we just have all these tools to be able to connect, but really nothing beats in-person quality time. And whether that's work, people getting together in a boardroom and just working on this great project, or whether that's me and 10 teammates from my softball team going out to Boston Pizza for wings after the game. Like there's nothing that beats in-person connection, and that's something that I think is sorely missed in the COVID, not just for people who stutter, but really everyone. So I think that when we are able to kind of go back to a normal kind of world, I don't really know what that is anymore, but I think there is going to be a lot of quality time to catch up on.
Well, Brent, one last question, and we'll let you go. Okay. I often think about significant others in our lives, our parents, our brothers. Do you feel that they have, they need support as well to understand a person who stutters? What what would you suggest? How can we help them, our parents, family, brothers, to understand what we experience?
Well, I think one of the things that I've thought about, even just before jumping on the Zoom here now, I've probably had 10 times more conversations with friends, family, coworkers on my stutter in the past year than I have in quite a while. So they've been really powerful conversations, and that's something that I wouldn't take away for anything, except maybe no COVID, but we can't have it all. But one of the things that I like to talk about, and it's something that I get asked quite a bit, is finishing people's sentences. So I've been asked, like, Brent, do you mind if people finish your sentences, or they fill the gaps, or that kind of thing? And it's such a great question, because it really varies for everyone. I remember hearing someone say, I stutter, don't finish my sentences, don't do it. And I was like, okay. So they're very like steadfast on kind of doing it on their own, and that's really admirable. For me, I actually kind of don't mind, and I'll try to quickly explain why, because I think it helps with the connection thing with people that stutter and people that don't stutter, and kind of how we can come together on that common ground. So for me, I generally don't mind people finishing my sentences, but I do ask, or would like, that I have time to try and finish what I'm trying to speak or trying to say. If it becomes painfully obvious that I just cannot finish what I'm trying to say for the life of me, then help me out, because there's been times in which I'm like struggling to speak, and I just, for some reason, like on that scale, there's on that scale, my confidence is a 3 that day. It's not a 9. And I'm thinking, like, can someone help me out? Can someone like help me out with my sentence here? I'm thinking, and no one does, or they do, or that they're not sure. And then there's other times when I'm speaking and I'm not even given a chance to finish at all. And so some of that is frustrating. But one thing that I would like to highlight for people that don't stutter, in my lived experience, I do find that most people, not all people, but most people, if they're trying to finish my sentences or fill the gaps, then they're probably just trying to help. And if they're probably just trying to help, then that's something, I can work with that, right? It's the people that don't have the patience, they don't have the time of day. Those are the people that will probably come into conflict a lot more with. I would much prefer to be in collaboration with people on my stutter rather than to be in a conflict. So I think that's probably one thing that I would say to people. Try and be collaborative for people that stutter, and understand that what works for me may not work for someone else, and all of that is okay.
So, Brent, before we leave, do you have any questions for Katelyn and I?
I guess just a quick one for Katelyn. What made you kind of want to study speech therapy?
So when I was 13, I think in ninth grade, we did a career quiz in class. And one of the top results that I got was speech language pathologist. And I was like, okay, I've never heard of that. What is it? And I looked it up and I thought, whoa, that's cool. And then it just hasn't changed since then, which is kind of crazy. And every time I've been learning about speech language pathology since I was 13, and every time I learn more and more and get more and more involved in things like the NLSA and this podcast, I just fall more in love with the field. And so that's kind of what inspired me to become a speech pathologist, I guess, in a nutshell. It's kind of a different story, and I could go on forever reasons why I am interested in speech pathology and want to work as an SLP, but that's how that happened.
Amazing. And Greg, I know that that you're the chair of the Newfoundland and Labrador group, and it's a fairly new group too. So maybe like since 2018, I think is when the group first formed. So that's I think that's fairly new, and from what I can see, that the amount of work that's gone in over the last almost 3 years has been great. From your standpoint, I would like to learn some more about like some of the successes that the group has gotten over the last number of years, or if there's or if there's anything fun that you would like to highlight, just so people that don't stutter can be of help.
Well, that's a good question as well, Brent. Thanks a lot. You see, the NLSA has come a long way. I mean, just just for a group of volunteers just to come together and to establish the Newfoundland Labrador Stuttering Association, that's a huge success there in itself. And because before that, there was very little known, and still very little known about stuttering in Newfoundland. So for a group of volunteers to come together to take time out of their own personal, professional lives and family lives to build awareness, acceptance, and understanding of stuttering. This is, this is a huge success. And the NLSA, we really done a lot of awareness. We built a lot of awareness. But the next, I mean, we've actually done a number of presentations of various agencies, groups. We've done our third walk and run and roll now. We're hosting our second conference this Saturday coming, as you're aware. But we've only touched the tip of the iceberg, and this is where we have been successful in pulling a group of people together. The Newfoundland Labrador Stuttering Association Solidarity Project, which, as you're aware, that we have developed four surveys now. We need the data. That's the next step, Brent, because we've been asked the question a few times: what data do we have to support that there are deficits for people stuttering in the province, deficits in services and supports? So we need this data. We need the data as to know, well, how many people that stutter in Newfoundland and Labrador? I know that 1% of the world's population stutter, but we don't have these numbers. So we need this evidence, this data, to when we're approaching government to really, recognize that yes, these deficits exist, and we need to work in collaboration to build the supports necessary. So, but we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but overall, I mean, the success that we exist says something. So that's the 3/4 of the battle,
Amazing. And I only learned about it. I only learned about it last year when I was surfing through CBC or something like that, and there was an article. I think it was Allison from the group too, that and like, I was like reading the article, and all I could think about is just like, I wish that something like this was there when I was in speech therapy, when I was in elementary school or junior high, or even like 5 years ago. Like that'd be amazing. So I think the fact that we're even here, like you said, I think that'll lay a really good foundation for people going forward, that maybe they didn't have before, and that there's that real chance for long-term action and for not just people that stutter, but their families, their friends, and people who work in the field, that can really help. So I'm really pumped about it, and I see nothing but a bright future here in the province.
Thanks a lot, Brent, and we really appreciate your support and involvement with us to bring this forward more. So anyhow, Brent, I hear Luca tuning up the ivories in the background, playing some music. So this means that we have come to an end. So
Awesome.
thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and I'm very pleased that this is your first podcast. This is a big step, I take it then.
Yeah, for absolute sure. So I'm a huge hockey fan too. So maybe this will lead me into like the hockey podcasting world. Who knows? But thank you very much for having me here, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you very much. Congratulations for taking this risk today.
This has been an episode of Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering. Some Stutter Law is hosted and produced by Greg O'Grady, Katelyn Mayo, Dr. Paul DeDecker, and Luca Dinu. Some Stutter Law is available on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. To ask a question, send us a comment or a suggestion, or just to get in touch, you can find us at online at Some Stutter Podcast on Instagram, or at Some Stutter Love Pod on Facebook. Thank you for listening.